Hello students, so let's talk about thumbnails. Now thumbnails are, in art, they're not the nail on your thumb, okay? Haha, very funny, right? Thumbnails are essentially just really small sketches that you use to just kind of get your ideas out on the paper, because sometimes it can be really difficult to transfer the ideas in your head and then get them out on the paper where you can actually see it and play around with it. Okay, I mean, take this for example. Have you ever had a really cool idea for an artwork and you just started drawing or painting or whatever, and by the time you were done, you didn't really like it and it was just kind of meh, okay? Usually that process and maybe that disappointment can be avoided by exploring thumbnails first, okay? So instead of trying to work it all out and make it perfect all at once, you can just sketch out a few small ideas, play around with them, and then you can decide on a composition that works. So here's just a few examples of some thumbnails. They should be small, okay? In comparison, this is my hand. It's very small. It's kind of scribbled in, but for example, if this is a tree painting, it has enough detail for me to kind of play with the composition. Remember, the composition is where things go, their size, their shape, okay? That is what you're going to play with. You don't need to really worry about the details just yet. We're just focusing on the composition. So this would be another thumbnail, maybe a little more detail, a little more larger. Here's some more thumbnails. These ones are really small. And when you work in a small way like this, you can really develop your ideas very quickly. Okay, so this is for reference. Okay, these are just a few inches at the most. And when you work this way, it's super easy for you to get your ideas down on paper very quickly so you don't forget them. And they're also just really easy to work with. Okay, I think I made these in like less than 5 minutes, okay? So instead of spending all this time on a artwork and a composition you don't like, you can work through those ideas very quickly if you just use thumbnails. So they should be small. They don't have to have a whole lot of detail. Remember, you just need to quickly sketch in the shapes of the objects, the approximation of size, and where they should go within the artwork, those 3 things. Okay, so my process for this artwork, I was trying to paint some dragonflies with watercolors, and so I played around with some different compositions, and then I played around with a few more, just kind of sketched them out. I did also have references, and so it was kind of easier for me to sketch things by looking at those references. And this artwork was really cool because I was able to go to a museum and sketch from some of the dragonflies they had on display there. That was really fun. So just a lot more sketches, and then I finally decided on this one where I'd played with a lot of different ideas, but I ended up kind of cropping it out. And so after that, I decided to draw a more detailed artwork. And this is still not the finished artwork, but it gave me a lot more, it gave me a chance to really work out my ideas and make sure I liked my composition. And so I was able to draw in some of the forms more accurately and add a little bit more detail. And so this is a great middle step if you decide to do that. And then this is the finished painting. I don't know if I can get all of it in the camera. I guess that's as good as it's gonna go. It's pretty large, so I'll kind of move it around from top to bottom. And so it's a really great process for people to use, especially if you're doing imaginative stuff or if you're doing original, unique artwork. It can be really hard to just go from stuff right out of your head. And so if you follow this process before you start the original, if you kind of play around with some ideas, such as drawing something like this, or if I go back to the thumbnails, or drawing something like these, just little boxes, It really helps you to get a good idea of a composition, and I think it's just a really great way to avoid that feeling of disappointment or discontent about a finished artwork. Because I'm really proud of how this turned out, and I don't think it would have turned out this way had I not done the prep work and the exploration during the thumbnail phase. Okay, so that's just a brief introduction to thumbnails. They should be really quick and easy. Remember, you're not really adding a lot of detail, you're just focusing on the composition.